Hi. Okay, so I've been feeling called to record more videos and doing some specifically YouTube videos, but it's been something that I've been kind of avoiding because it's a lot of being seen that I've been having to work through. So my plan is to post regularly on my YouTube. But I'm still getting over some shyness, so we'll see exactly if it's every single week. But that's my goal for now, to do some experimentation. So the topic I want to talk about right now today is about, and I'm still getting used to recording. It's very I'm not used to it. I'm not used to looking at the because where the camera is, like the video, and not looking at something else. And so I'm getting used to it all. So pardon my learning through it, but I know that practice makes perfect. So today what I want to talk about is so we're in a time where there's a lot of things going on in the world. There's a lot of change going on in the world. And with that, we can feel often how much division that there is at the same time. And how do we deal with this division? How do we deal with, people in our lives that are seeing things completely differently as we are? How do we deal with disagreement, the frustration of seeing people who don't see what we see, that don't see the pain that we see in the world? And I think it's something that's a continuous inquiry, though I think that something that feels really important right now to build the skill of is how to come to sacred disagreement. So this isn't to say that, I guess what I'm saying is that it's a nuanced thing that I'm saying. I'm not saying that we need to become best friends with every single person that has every type of view, or that we need to approve of every view that's out there, or, feel like I'm going to embody peace and love everyone and just agree with every single person what they say. But I do think there's two things here. So one thing is that when we disagree with people, or when we disagree with people, what we want to try to do often when we're upset and we have our own emotions that are often, if we really check in, a lot of them are, greater than the current moment. There's past things that have happened to us. There's past things that have happened to our ancestors, to our people, to people that we really care about, even groups that we really care about or have a really hard time seeing their pain. And so with that, we want to have other people see what we see. But often we're coming from a place of all of these emotions that we're not actually able to get to a place of complete understanding of that person who disagrees with us. So for example, I know there's many topics politically that I know that, or stances that I don't really have the capacity at this point to come to a place of approval of that person's perspective. And so the reason why this is important is because if we can't, or not even approval of their perspective, but I would say like approval of who they are and like a deep understanding of where they're coming from, right? Where we're like this nurturing, like, I understand, I see you. And so if we're not coming from that energy, and instead we're coming from a place of like shaming, or thinking like there's something wrong with you for believing this, or there's just something inherently wrong with this perspective, likely we're not going to be the person who that person can open up with enough to actually change their perspective. Because if you think about and reflect all the times in your life that you've changed perspectives, you probably have never done it in the time where someone is there completely disagreeing with you and just like making you feel like as a person that you're doing something wrong for believing what you're believing, or not having, I should say, a real understanding of you and your your journey. And I know we can see that a lot with ourselves, of younger versions of ourselves through our healing journey that have done things that we don't necessarily agree with, but we also understand like what our journey was. We understand the hard times we have, and self-compassion is actually what allows us to actually shift. And if we don't have it, often we can't shift. And so it's the same in interpersonal relationships, where if we're not able to embody that compassionate energy to the other person, they're not going to be able to have that like kind of energy, like I guess, you know, I think bubble, like that bubble that's set up for you, that's like safe enough for you to actually feel like you can shift, because shame can be very paralyzing. And so often when we feel shamed or we feel like someone doesn't understand us, we dig our heels in more. And I feel that this has often happened with a lot of people who are, I mean, I see it in politics a lot. I feel like I saw it a lot with Trump supporters and people who are kind of backlashing against like Black Lives Matter movement and so on, is because they felt in those moments that they weren't being seen for their full experience. They felt like they were being, you know, put into this category that didn't fully see them. And whether that is, there's obviously truth in harm that's created by all people, all of us in our society in different ways that we need to acknowledge. And I think that's important. But I also think if we're not also making space for someone's full humanity, we're going to dig our heels in. And so I think just acknowledging when we can't do that for other people, it's kind of a waste of time. Like I always think like, so let's say, you know, I forgot what that movie is with the guy from Fight Club. The guy from Fight Club that, I think is it American History X or something like that? But it's about, he's like I don't know, I forgot, but he's like a white supremacist, right? And it talks about like how he got there. I saw it when I was like really young. It has not been anytime soon. So I think of these different groups, like let's say people who are white supremacists. The person who's probably going to be able to expand and help them grow into greater both consciousness as far as like being better to other people is probably going to be someone from their own group, or someone who really understands the experience because they have been close enough. I don't think that me, who has not had any type of similar experience for them and is actually triggered by a lot of the things of the result of their experience, is going to be able to come in and hold enough space for them to really be able to make space and shift. And so if that exercise is of like trying to battle, and I know this myself because I used to have this like theory that if I just you know, I was like, well, if I believe that conversations with people is the way to change the world, that I need to have conversations with people. So I think while I was in law school and before law school, I used to literally have conversations with like every single person who disagreed with me. And there's plenty of people like that in law school, and a lot of people who are willing to talk about it. And it was a big learning experience of like what actually has people change their perspectives. And I really just felt like it wasn't very productive unless the person is in a place where they're going to be ready for to hear something different or to really change their perspective. And just because someone's willing to debate doesn't mean they're in a place of like, I think of it the same as healing. Like you're not going to see yourself until you're ready to deal with those things about yourself in the healing journey. It's the same with like politics or like how we relate on a community level, that people aren't going to be able to see themselves until they're ready to. And like I said, it's different than debating, because I think debating is about like yes or no versus expansion, or like I'm right or not right versus, or you're wrong, I'm right, versus expansion. And so I had a lot of those conversations, and I just didn't feel like it was productive as far as like changing, like pushing the ball forward and like really changing perspectives. And at the end of the day, I do think that ultimately for a political conversation to even be worthwhile, what's our goal? And when I thought of that, like I think there's ways to have conversations that can expand our consciousness, which, like, for example, maybe expands like different perspectives we see. Like, okay, I see my perspective that, for example, I'm pro affordable healthcare because I have had family members who wouldn't go to the doctor because they couldn't afford it. And that really caused a lot of stress for me. And so that's my perspective. And then I can expand my consciousness as far as like what I'm aware of by talking to someone who shares with me that their parent was a doctor, and they found, like, in a country that has affordable healthcare, and they found that because of it, the doctors were totally overworked. And they tell me kind of like the story behind it. And that can expand my perspective as far as like really understanding kind of the different experiences that people have in the world. And ultimately, what I think of is like, then how can we create solutions that encompass those experiences, right? Instead of like politics, a lot of the times is about like, my experience is right and yours is wrong, because we actually don't even go into the experiences. But that's like the underlying feeling that I think is touched upon a lot, which creates more separation and more just like fighting. And I mean, yeah. So I think this is a big topic. And so what I was gonna say is that if these conversations, how we're having them, aren't really productive, or what is the point? Are we trying to expand consciousness and open up our perspective so that we can create solutions that are for everyone? Then that's great. But is our goal just trying to be to change people? But that energy is just like, we're not going to be able to come at it with the right energy, maybe. So then it's like, what do we do with this energy that we have? Because it's like, we see these big things happening. We see the death of so many people in Palestine. That is so heartbreaking. It's hard to even feel it right now because there can be like in moments just like, I can't even feel that in this moment. So it's just really heartbreaking. So we see that, and then we have energy that comes up, right, as a result. And what do we do with that energy? Okay, are we fighting with people and trying to change their mind with people who like just literally we can't empathize with them, so they're not going to empathize with us? And like I said, maybe we can question whether that's productive or not. And so if we're not doing that, which I believe that it's a waste of time a lot of the times, unless we feel that someone is also in a place of like opening their consciousness to different perspectives. And like, if anything, it kind of can make them like dig their heels in more, because they don't feel like we're hearing their perspective, and so on. And so then it's like, what can we do with this energy? And like, I believe that we should be using that energy creatively. We should be, or using at least more of the energy creatively, of really creating solutions to the world that we want to live in, to becoming the people that we need to be to create the world that we want to live in, and knowing that those things aren't going to happen easily. Like I think of that. I was thinking about that. I was at the beach, and the beach in Texas, and it was really hard because there was a bunch of dead jellyfish like every step of the way, and I saw a bunch of I think they're called oil rigs. I don't know what they're called, but they're the ones that are pulling the oil from extracting it in the ocean. Like there was a bunch invisible site, and then there's a sign about like bacteria, like imbalance in the water, so people aren't supposed to be able to go in it. And to me, it was just felt really heartbreaking, and I felt like, I was crying, of just like how we got here with the way that we treat oceans. I was seeing these beautiful seagulls and like feeling like they're going to, they're in the water, and like, what if they're gonna die because as a result, there's just like the poisoning of our which might not, people might argue about the phrase of it, but I see it as like the poisoning of our, our natural, allies, our ocean and animals and so on. And so in those moments, I think about, like I was thinking about how I've been struggling with creating boundaries against, or not against, but with a certain family member. And there's been it's been bringing up a lot of stuff for me, a lot of younger versions of myself that, just that need healing, and it can be really hard and feel new and scary. And when I was doing that, I was thinking about, I wasn't doing it in the moment because I was at the beach for the weekend, but I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about how the reason why I'm creating these boundaries is because the dynamic I've had is a lot of, and a lot of my life is very much like taking care of a lot of people's needs and doing what they want me to do. But it also feeling kind of futile, I should say. I think that's how you say the word. And like, what's the point of what I'm doing here? And then also feeling that it doesn't feel like an alignment of me living my highest path if I'm going to be really intentional about my time. Like I've been in a place where I'm working on my business, I'm doing all of these things, and it takes a lot of energy, and my healing takes a lot of energy, and there's just different things. And so for me to in the becoming of this version of myself that I'm feeling called to become, to hopefully do more, to be creating this earth, this world that is different than the world now, that we're not poisoning and causing destruction to our natural habitats and world. And then obviously it also there's just such a, I see it as like a interconnected negative cycle, because then the negative environments usually affect people of color the most, people who are poor the most, and environmental issues affect us all, with our quality of food, of our quality of lives, of so much. And so if I'm going to be someone who's ready to be helping create this new way of being, that feels so vital right now, to be that person who's aligned with that. Me creating boundaries with my family members so that I'm not spending so much of my time and energy doing obligations that don't feel aligned to my spirit, when I feel like I need to be doing these things. And at the end of the day, when or the end of the week, when I really reflect, I don't have time anymore. I don't have any more time. I don't have any more energy. And so then I have to create more boundaries. And it just makes me think, it's like we think of these things as so small, or so many people culturally kind of think of healing as just something that's for yourself, or frivolous, or something that's I think frivolous is the word. It's something that we don't, it's like a luxury that is just if we want to or not. But when I was looking and I was at the beach, I was like, we need to be doing this. For us to be creating this world, for us to be doing things differently, for us to be healing these cyclical patterns of doing the same thing that things have always been done, we really need to, in my zero in, get really rooted, have time to hear our intuition, have time to hear our inner essence of what is calling us forward, because that's what's going to be showing us the way forward. That's going to be showing us how to be the people who are going to change the world, who are going to make the world, a better place for all of us being, all of the nature beings, everyone. And so I just feel super, when I really root in that, it's just so, I don't know, humbling, and reminds me, and also centering in my spiritual journey. So anyways, okay, I think there's even more that I wasn't able to discuss that maybe I alluded to at the beginning. But this has been super nice in flow actually and felt really good. And so I guess my next topic that I kind of referred to, maybe I'll talk about it in the next video, which is about like sacred disagreement, which is basically about disagreement with people who like we are in somewhat relation, like in the healing, kind of when I was talking about the healing bubble, like people that we can be in that bubble with. Yeah. And so that will be another topic. And if you liked this, you can subscribe. I'm like, I don't think I've ever said that before. I have some, if you're watching this anytime in, the near future, I have some upcoming virtual healings that are coming this month. You can find out more information on my website at arielsheart.com. And I also have an in-person workshop locally in San Antonio. So thank you for watching. I hope everyone has a good weekend. Bye.